Oh, hi, and welcome to SABnessful, where I give my opinions that no one really cares about, but will give anyways. And today I will be ranking all the contestants from season 3 of The Traitors US version. Not only will I be ranking all the contestants, but I'll also go over my overall thoughts on the season, including the twists. My ear just started pain. Why? Yeah. And I will be doing this in a tier ranking. It's easy, it's simple, most people understand. I guess I don't because I kind of do mine a little bit differently. So this is my tier ranking. As you can see, I have all my tiers as well as all 23 contestants. So the way I do mine a little bit differently is that I have green on top and red on bottom. I know most people swap. The reason why I have green on top instead of red is that green to me is more like a good color, while red is more of like bad color. So that's why as the list goes further down into the dislike categories, it gets redder rather than greener. I feel like that just makes more sense. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. I'm never wrong. But I'll go from top to bottom. All my tiers are pretty self-explanatory. I have loved, which I absolutely loved them. They were great. They were good. They were okay, which is kind of like my medium. It's like you weren't bad, but you weren't exactly good or great or that entertaining or that good at the game. So you're in the okay tier. And then I have disliked where I didn't like you at all. You weren't entertaining. You
weren't good at the game. Why are you on my screen?
And the they were there tier is for the contestants that were eliminated early. They just didn't last long enough in the game for me to get a good read on who they were. We didn't get to see enough of them for me to properly rank them. So that's where they go. And the way I rank contestants is based off of two things: how good they were at the game, as well as how entertaining they were to me. So some contestants might have been really bad at the game, but they were entertaining, so I like them, or vice versa. Maybe they were a boring personality, but they were really good at the game and I respect good gameplay, which makes them go higher. And sometimes it's a combination of both. So if they're really good at the game and really entertaining, they're going in the love tier. I think I explained my rankings enough. I'll just refilm this if I have to do it again. Ah, so hot, but it's good. Enough said, let's get into my rankings of season 3 of The Traitors. Spoilers abound. And we're not getting to my rankings just yet. Please wait, we will. I just wanna go over some of the beginning twists that happened before any contestants were eliminated. So the first twist that we saw in the first episode was Alan introducing Rob and how he could be a contestant in the game if anybody shook his hand, and if they didn't shake his hand, he would be banished. I didn't really like this twist. I just thought there's no way they're not gonna allow Boston Rob to not to be in the game. So I kind of figured if no one shook his hand, they would put him in the game anyways. It just seemed unnecessary to me and very contrived. What was the point of this? Like, you didn't fool anybody. I feel like it would have just been better just to have him be in the game. I feel like this was a very contrived way to get him to be a traitor. You know? I like the idea in that the contestants' choices have consequences, and by not shaking Boston Rob's hand, he then becomes a traitor. But I feel like he was always going to be a traitor whether someone shook his hand or not. And I doubt that, say someone did shake his hand and then they chose someone else to be banished, that person would be a traitor. I feel like it was always going to be Boston Rob. So it just felt like a very forced way to make him be a traitor. I didn't like it. It was unnecessary. The other twist that happens is the cage boy twist, where Derek, Wes, and Rob, I remember the names, were all up in the cages and reintroduced into the game. I also didn't like this twist. Again, I get the idea of let's introduce 3 big name characters a little bit later in the game, but like, why? It just felt like a very contrived way to make sure that these contestants weren't the first ones banished and murdered. And I never liked that. I see this all the time in other reality shows where a twist is introduced to protect big name characters. I think that's so unfair. And anytime this happens where twists are introduced to save characters, there's almost always saving male characters. Like, why did we have 3 strong men up in the cages? Why can't we have a woman up there? Like, what are you saying here? You could have easily swapped Derek and Danielle. Danielle is a huge big name in Big Brother, but whatever. I didn't like it. I'm glad it was early on and they only were saved for 1 murder and 1 banishment and not multiple of them. But, you know, whatever, it is what it is. The last thing I want to touch on before I get to the contestants are the challenges. I'm not a challenge guy. They always bore me. I'm not really going to talk about them. Ow. Ow. This cloak is f***ing heavy. Ah! Now it is time to get into the rankings of the contestants. And as you can see, I have them in order of elimination. So we have to first start with Dorinda, the first murdered. And Dorinda goes in the okay tier. I think that's fair. I should honestly probably put her in they were there tier, but I actually kind of liked her. She gave us a lot in the one episode she was in, and I was really looking forward to seeing her in the game and how she would be in the game, but she was just taken too soon from us, far too soon from us. I don't think I have any right to put her past the okay tier. What she gave was good. I wish we got to see more of her. Next is the first banished in Wells, and he goes in the they were there tier. I just didn't see enough of him, so I had to put him there. He was there. He had an appearance fee.
Good for him.
Next is Ion, the second person murdered, and Ion also goes in they were okay tier, but I'm gonna put it in front of Dorinda. Again, what she gave was really good, but she didn't last that long that I don't think I could put it past the okay tier. Also, like Dorinda, taken way too soon. She was giving us the look, she was giving us the drama. She wasn't too shabby at the game. She was kind of clocking Bob in the beginning like Dylan was, but alas, they murdered her, and it's so unfortunate because I feel like she would have been such a good character in the game. Next is the second person banished in Tony, and again, they were okay. He lasted longer than Dorinda and Ion, but he didn't really give us much, but not too little that I would consider him disliked. Now, he is from Survivor, and I am not a big Tony guy. I love Survivor, but I've never really been a Tony guy. And I think he's overrated. I really do. I know he's a two-time winner. I know he won a season of all winners, but I've always felt he's a bit overrated. Tony is not good alone. He needs a Trish or a Sarah, and I think that's very clear in this season where he had no allies, and because of that, no one was vouching for him, and so they just got rid of him. I had to listen to podcasts of people talking about the show, and a lot of the time when I listened to this podcast, people were defending Tony and that he was never made to be a faithful, he's never gonna be good at the faithful game, and I say, no, he should have adapted, he should have adjusted, he should have built bonds with people so they wouldn't betray him. I think he was a traitor. He didn't do that. I don't think you can just be like, well, he was only going to be good if he was a traitor. No, he should have been better at the game. Point blank and simple. Now again, with this show, faithfuls are going to banish you for the stupidest reasons. I don't think there were that stupid of reasons that got him banished. He just didn't build enough bonds with people and social connections for people to think he wasn't a traitor, so that is on him. Anyways, tangent over. Next person murdered is another Survivor player, which was Jeremy. Before I get into Jeremy, I want to go over the coffin twist. I did like the coffin twist. I always think it's fun when traitors have to get together outside the turret to figure out who to murder, and I like this idea of putting a few people in the coffins and then the traitors walk behind them. I really like the idea in that the surviving faithfuls could hear the other traitors and be so close to them, but to not be able to see them. Like, you're so close, they're right there. So I thought that was really cool in concept. I really liked the twist. I thought it was well done. And of course, the victim of that twist was none other than Jeremy. And he, I don't think he deserves the okay. No, I'm gonna put him good. Definitely good, because he clocked Danielle. He was one of the first people on it. He told the wrong people about his suspicions on Danielle and unfortunately got back to her. So that is unfortunate for him, but he did clock her. I think if he just kept it to himself a little bit longer, he could have survived longer, but alas, he didn't. Not the biggest personality, he doesn't bring a lot of drama, but in terms of gameplay, he's really good. So that's why he goes in the good tier. I did think it was weird that it was Bob, the drag queen, that put the nail in Jeremy's coffin. Shouldn't it have been Danielle? She was the one that was pushing for Jeremy's name to be murdered. He was the one that said her name. It would have made sense for her to put the nail in his coffin. Like, that would have been, that would have been so great, but it was Bob. But, you know, whatever. Speaking of Bob, the drag queen's next. They were great. They were great. Loved Bob. I thought they were so funny. They were so good at the round tables. Misunderstood. Oh, misguided. Sorry, I just got that. Misguided was so funny. Not the best in terms of strategy and gameplay. They weren't bad by any means, but definitely not the best. Entertainment factor, very well done. I do wish Bob stayed longer. I felt like we were deprived of Bob quotes, but what we did get out of him was great. Love that they were on the season. Next is Robin, and Robin, Robin wasn't really that good at the game either, but I think I had to put them okay because Robin, she fell for every trap the traitors throughout, like the coffin trap. The traitors put all faithfuls in those coffins thinking that the faithfuls would believe a traitor was in there, and Robin fell for that hook, line, sinker. She fell for every freaking trap that they gave, and she just really was bad at the game, had incorrect reads. I don't even think she voted for Bob. Maybe she did, I don't know. She was entertaining. She was kind of savvy, and I feel like towards her final episode, she was starting to catch up on Rob and was about to push that. And I think had she stayed long in the game, she could have been a lot better at it. She was kind of getting out like it seemed like she was getting out the kinks of her game in the beginning, and then towards the end, if she stayed longer, she would have been a lot better of a faithful and tracking down the traitors, but she didn't get that chance. But because we didn't see her be that good at the game, I can't put her past okay, but I kind of like what she gave us. Next is the next person banished. I'm going to stop saying next person banished, next person murdered. If you're watching this video, you probably already know. I just don't feel like saying it all the time. Next is Nikki, who was banished. I'm gonna put okay. She didn't really give us a lot, wasn't that good at the game. She thought Rob was a faithful, which, oh my God, I'll get to him, but how people thought he wasn't a traitor was insane to me. But yeah, Nikki, I kind of don't wanna put her, yeah, like she just didn't give us anything. She didn't have that good of reads. She was one of the Bambis, didn't have good of reads, wasn't really giving us much in terms of entertainment. Like the one thing I guess was entertaining about her was her exit and how frustrated she was that people weren't listening to logic. But then again, she also wasn't. She was also voting for Sierra. Nothing more to say. Bob Harper is next. Also goes in the okay tier. I honestly would put him in disliked. I really didn't like Bob, but the reason why I am putting him in the okay tier is that unlike most of the freaking faithfuls, he was starting to catch on to Rob and was looking at him, which is why he was murdered. So I had to give him some credit for that, which I feel like I shouldn't give him that credit because it was so obvious that Rob was a traitor. Like after he outed Bob, it should have been obvious to everybody, but no. You know what? I think I'm convincing myself. It was, it was so obvious that Rob was a traitor, so I can't even give him that credit, even though almost everyone else didn't see it. I didn't like him. He didn't give us much. I think what really did it for me that makes me dislike Bob is the challenge where they did the doors where they had to find the correct door to go through. And he was the fourth pair to go through it. They only had one door left and he went through the wrong one. Like, how do you mess up that badly? And in the beginning of that challenge, she was yelling at Tony of all people for him to volunteer. Like, why were you yelling at Tony? What did Tony do? Like, I didn't get it. Like, you didn't give us anything. The one little bit of smarts you gave us was towards Rob, which was such an obvious traitor. So yeah, he goes on disliked. I did not like him. Let's see, next is Wes, and they were good. He caught on to Rob. He was pretty good at the game. He understood the assignment in that sometimes being seen as a smart faithful is not good because that'll get you murdered. So he kind of sat back, which is smart gameplay. And I like that he was clocking Rob and he was going for Rob, and his banishment was so frustrating. Like, oh my God, like his banishment was at the point where I was done with most of these faithfuls. I'm like, holy crap, how are you this bad? I was very low on this season because of that. And so at this point in the stage, I'm like, I don't want any of these people to win. The only people who wanted to win were the traitors and Gabby at that point, because at least Gabby was on to Rob. She was on to him, was voting for him. Even Dylan, who outed Bob, was the first to catch on to Bob, was wrong about Rob. Like, oh my God, I lost so much respect for Dylan at that part. It's like, how are you so bad? Like, oh my God. That said, I don't think Wes did himself any favors. Threatening the faithfuls and telling them that he's going to look at them and they vote for him isn't great. And at that point, it kind of forced the faithfuls' hands. Like, if I was at that round table and I didn't think Wes was a traitor and I was going for Rob, him saying, I'm going to look at you guys for voting for me and basically threatening people, that would make me want to vote him out because that's not someone I can trust. That's not someone who's going to go to the end with me. But I think he was going anyways, whether he said that or not. Next is Derek. I'm putting him in the great tier. He's not a very entertaining player to watch, but he's very good at the game. He had some not so great reads in the beginning, but again, getting out the kinks in the beginning, on to Rob, had a very good argument. Like, that's the argument I would have made if I was sitting there, is the fact that, oh, I think Alan would have made Rob a traitor because that's the consequences of us not bringing him in. He clocked that, and I'm so glad he brought that up because I was just screaming inside, like, why is no one bringing that up? Unfortunately, he got murdered. It makes sense. He was too smart to keep around, but oh God, like he was awake while everyone else was asleep, and it's so frustrating. Next is Boston Rob himself. Finally, holy crap, how is he not banished sooner? And they were, okay. Oh, no, he has to be put in front of Robin. In front of Robin, there we go. I'm also not a really big Boston Rob fan. I think he's overrated. That said, he does somehow get away with this whole manipulation thing. How he got as far as he did, I have to give him credit for that. That's insane. Maybe he should put him good. Oh, God. I mean, he did cause a lot of drama that I don't think he was intentional. Yeah, I guess that's put him in good. He brought some entertaining parts of the show, a lot of frustrating parts because people were so dumb at how they didn't look at him. But I think him going for Bob, the drag queen, was kind of crazy for me. I thought it was ridiculous, the reason for him, because he was coming for you, said my name. He didn't say your name. He just brought up the cage board twist. That, granted, yeah, it wasn't great of Bob to bring that up, but people were already saying that. That wasn't something new. It just screamed paranoid to me. Like, Boston Rob, you're supposed to be seen as a strategic mastermind, and yet you're very paranoid about Bob the drag queen. Like, really? Seriously? What are we doing here? And also, I found Rob such a hypocrite. Like, he was getting mad at Danielle and Carolyn going after each other and the distrust they had for each other. And I'm like, you started it, Rob. You were the one that swung first. You took the first shot. You're the one that caused this dissension amongst the traitors. And he was annoyed at them? Like, hypocrite. I needed the self-awareness from him that, like, oh, I kind of did cause this, didn't I? Oh, well. Oh God, it was just so frustrating. And the moment about that stands out to me most is, well, I don't remember what episode it is, but it's when Danielle brings up to Rob that she lost trust in him when he went after Bob, and Rob just goes, come on, Danielle, he was coming for me. Come on, Danielle. I was like, why are you acting like a child right now, throwing a tantrum? Like, who are you? It was just ridiculous to me. It was acting like a baby. Like, come on, Rob, have the self-awareness, please. But yeah, he was good at the game. He lasted longer than he should have, and I had to give him credit for that. And you know, it did bring a lot of drama. It did bring a lot of drama in the turret, which was great, which, oh my God, I've never seen such a dysfunctional set of traitors. So that was fun. But yeah, he's going to be in the bottom of the good tier. Chriselle. No, God, no. Disliked. So bad at the game. So bad. Like, had so many incorrect reads. She did vote for Bob. I'll give her that. The scenes of her going to Rob and like shaking, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's like a little child. Like, what are you? What are we doing here? Super sweet. She seems like a lovely, sweet woman. I'm sure she's super kind, probably a great friend, but as a player, so bad. Didn't bring us much in terms of entertainment value either. And this kind of brings me back to when Rob was banished. I wish we saw after he was banished the faithfuls that really believed in him, like a Chriselle, like a Dolores, like a Sierra, and seeing them react to him actually being traitor and realizing they were wrong. We didn't get to see any of that, so that was unfortunate. I wish we did. She was a part of the twist where the traitors had to murder face to face. I love it when the show does this. I think the show should always do this. I don't think every murder should be face to face. I think that'd be too much, but I think every season they should have one murder that's face to face. I think it's unfortunate though that it happened with Chriselle because she was very boring, did not give a lot of reactions, and she had a very like didn't react at all to seeing the traitors. I wish someone else was murdered that would have given us a better reaction. But unfortunately it was Chriselle, but I was glad she was finally out of the game because she was so bad. So good riddance, Chriselle, super sweet person, but never want to see you again on a competition reality show. Sierra's next, and she was top of okay. I wanted more from Sierra. I think in terms as a character, she was great. Very feisty, not afraid to speak her mind. I liked her best towards the end of her run. And what I liked that she did was that she looked at Danielle and Brittany, and she looked at them believing one of them was a traitor, which was a good read because Danielle was a traitor. But what I liked most about her going after them is that she recognized they were a duo, and whether or not they're traitors, that's a threat and you need to separate them. So I'm glad that she had the strategy in mind to go for them, because absolutely, even the both faithfuls, they're taking chances to the end. You're not a part of that duo. You need to split that up. So I like that she went after them. I did expect more from Sierra. She was a part of the Rob train. She was being fooled by him. So she can't go past the okay tier because of that. Next is Sam, who was murdered after Sierra. And I kind of like Sierra. I liked him more towards the end of his run. But I have to put him in the okay tier. I'm actually gonna put him under Sierra. He was so boring. Oh my God, he brought almost nothing to the show in terms of entertainment value. That said, towards the end, he showed a lot of smarts. It was really smart of him after the face-to-face murder that he was asking the faithfuls that were part of that to describe Alan's clothes. That was a really smart move of him. And I liked his reasoning for targeting Sierra in that they believed there could be a person in the coffins that was a traitor and they just kind of want to end that theory. But he felt that because Boston Rob and Bob were the traitors, he thought that they would try to convince another traitor to go in the coffins, and they did. They tried to convince Carolyn to do it, but she was smart enough to say, no, that's ridiculous. So I thought that was really intelligent on Sam's part to guess that correctly. He read that correctly, that they would try to convince a traitor to go in the coffins. So I gotta give him big points for that, but because he was so boring, I can't put him past the okay too. Like, you gave us nothing. Next is Carolyn. Loved Carolyn. Entertainment value, I mean, all-time high. She's so fun to watch. But she also was pretty good at the game. It was interesting in that the show was setting us up for us to believe that she was going to outlast Danielle and take her down. And that's not what happened. And I kind of like that bait and switch of that, oh, that didn't happen at all. So I thought that was kind of cool on the show's editor's part. I do think she has some chops. I like that she was looking at, we have to look at now. We can't always look at 3 steps ahead, but I think you have to do a combination of both. So she wasn't the best at the game, but I do think she was really good. She was good at convincing people she wasn't a traitor. And Carolyn is a smart player. I saw her season of Survivor and she is underestimated. She's very savvy at these type of games. And I was actually hoping Carolyn would be a faithful because she is very smart. I thought she would be able to figure out who the traitors were. I thought she actually be really good at that. And I was hoping she'd be faithful so she could prove her strategic chops by catching the traitors, but she was made a traitor, but she also made a very entertaining traitor. Like wow, did she cause a lot of drama in that turret. When she turned towards Danielle and said, we have to go after Danielle to her face. Mwah! Great moment from Carolyn. That said, I do think she did herself in towards the end of her run. The challenge with the Roomba traitor, which I love the Roomba traitor. That was so fun to watch. But I don't think she did herself any favors in that challenge, and she kind of blew it. And that Roomba challenge, I always enjoy it where the challenges have a say from the traitors. I think that's always fun. I think they should add more of that. But wow, was she outplayed by Danielle doing that round. She had all the ammunition to get out Danielle, and she just did not capitalize on that. She kind of did not hold herself great at the round table. She did poor at the challenge, did not do a good job of hiding she was a traitor. So unfortunately, she did do herself in because of that. But I think outside that challenge, she was primed to win. She was so close to winning, and she was so fun to watch. So she goes in the love tier. Next is Tom, and okay, Tom Sandoval. I'm going to put him in the good tier, and he goes in the good tier solely because of entertainment value. He was so fun to watch be dunked on constantly. Oh my god, he was dunked on constantly. He was such a weird character, and whether you love or hate him, he wasn't bad at the game. He clocked Rob, he was looking at Danielle. I think he voted for Bob. He was pretty savvy at the game, which is crazy to think that he was. I do think his murder was a big mistake from the traitors part, and I'll get to that when I go into the traitors, which they're actually next, so I'll get to that right now, actually. So yeah, Danielle is next, and she was great at the game. She was great. She did play a really poor traitors game in the beginning, like really bad. This idea of I need to get out Carolyn so I can bring in a new trade to get out Rob, crazy. Like lunatic, should have worked with Carolyn. Carolyn would have worked with Danielle. I think they would have worked well together, but she went after her for the craziest reasons. That was a big mistake from Danielle's part. But I think what the show did a poor job at doing is they showed how bad she was being a traitor, but they did not show how good she was at faking being a faithful. A lot of the exit interviews, if you watch them, when they realized Danielle's traitor, they did not guess her, they did not suspect her. So all the crying, the tears, from watching as an audience member, I thought, wow, this is so fake. I can't believe anyone's falling for this. But I also knew Danielle from Big Brother. I knew that she's cutthroat and that those tears mean nothing. But the show did not show us her being a good, fake, faithful. And I think that kind of hindered the perception of her. And I get the frustration of she's playing a really bad traitors game and she's outlasting a lot of these people. And I can see how that's frustrating. But to play devil's advocate, there were a lot of faithfuls that were really bad that lasted a long time. And some of them even won. And yet they don't get as much hate as Danielle, which is kind of ridiculous to me. And I know another reason why people didn't like her was that they kind of viewed it as a hypocrite in that she kept saying the whole season that she had no power when she in fact did. And I am kind of on that train in that, Danielle, you can't say you had no power in the game when you and Bob were running that turret, at least the first round before Rob came in. They were running that turret and Carolyn had no power. And so I don't like that. She had it, she lost it, but she never not had it. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I didn't like that. So I understand the frustration of people towards her about that. But I do think she gets a lot of unnecessary hate and how brutal she played the game. Like people were mad at her because she swore to grandkids. Like, you played a game called The Traitors. It's called The Traitors and you're mad that people lied to you? Come on now, grow up. Like, it's so ridiculous to me. Like if my grandma, who's almost 100 years old, may she live forever, if my grandma ever went on one of these shows and she swore on her grandkids, I'd be like, good, you better get that money, do what you got to do. It's so ridiculous to me. And also, you don't know Danielle's family. You don't know if those things mean anything. And she likely talked to them and say, hey, I might have to do this and this. It means nothing. And they're probably like, yeah, do it. Win the game, grandma. But going back to Tom Sandoval murder, that was really bad. They should not have murdered Tom Sandoval. I think they thought they had Dylan, and by murdering Tom, they could get Dolores, who was so focused on Tom, they could get her to then vote for Gabby. But what they should have done is murder Gabby. Dolores is still going to go for Tom. Brittany and Danielle can hop on that train, and then they could try to get Dylan to hop on that train as well. Or you don't need Dylan because Tom is still going to go for Dolores likely. So had they not murdered Tom, there was a chance they still could have won. which they still could have won even if they did murder Tom, which I'll get to that. All said and done, I think Danielle brought a lot of entertaining factor to the game. She was so fun to watch. Very messy gameplay in the beginning from Danielle, but towards the end, really good gameplay. Like the round where Caroline got banished, phenomenal round. Like how she played Caroline in the challenge and the argument she made at the round table, getting out Caroline, who had all the ammunition to turn the tides against Danielle, still failed because of Danielle's arguments, was really well done. So I have to give Danielle all the props for that. She did that round phenomenally. It helped because Caroline didn't do herself any favors, but it was a combination of both. And so give kudos to that. I also have to give kudos to flipping on Ivar when Dolores, oh my God, we'll get to Dolores. When Dolores decided to go for Ivar at that round table instead of Gabby, and she flipped over. Very good gameplay on both her and Brittany's part to see what was happening and to flip the votes. And speaking of Brittany, she is next, who was out blackmailed Traitor, the only recruit. And I'm gonna put it on top of okay tier. So first, I think the decision of bringing in Brittany as Traitor made sense from Danielle. I think she absolutely needed to bring in someone she could trust and who would work with her, because she needed a second Traitor to work with her to survive and win. Whether or not Brittany is recruit or not, once Danielle gets banished and she is revealed to be a traitor, they're going to look at Brittany no matter what, whether she is actually a traitor or not. So I don't think Brittany becoming a traitor in the game, if anything, might have helped her because she now had all the information. She could have used the information to win, and she didn't. Before I get into that, I want to backtrack to her earlier on in the season. I was very low on Brittany at Wes's banishment. How she conducted herself in that episode, I expected better from Brittany. I thought, how are you so bad at this? Why are you suspecting Wes and Rob? And like how she was defending Rob so much was beyond me. I thought it was ridiculous. Her being so annoyed at Derek and Wes, even though they were telling the truth, was mind-boggling. But you were one that was wrong, Brittany. You voted wrong. And I know she was upset with Derek because he did kind of lie to her about how he wasn't the one strong-arming the Rob argument. But I also get Derek's defense in that you were defending Rob so hard I couldn't trust you. And she was, for some reason, she was defending Rob hard. And her being mad at him was just a little ridiculous to me. I didn't like that once he was murdered, she kept going, he only said my name because of an ego thing. It wasn't an ego thing, Brittany. You were defending Rob so hard. That was suspicious. That said, the next day during Rob's banishment, she did say, look, I made a lot of mistakes. I acknowledge that. And I appreciate that. If you are faithful and you're doing really bad, if you then say to us, and say, yeah, I'm really bad, I'm making mistakes, I'm trying to change that, I'm trying to change my gameplay, then I'll give you more credit. So she did do that. I then started liking her towards the end. She was going up to the good, possibly great tier. And then the banishment where Danielle got banished. Brittany fucked up. She fucked up hard. What she should have done was either be fully committed to saving Danielle or fully committed to getting her out. She voted for Ivar on the tiebreaker. Great read on her part to go for Ivar because Dolores went AWOL. But then on the revote, she voted for Danielle. And to me, it doesn't matter if you think Dolores is voting for Danielle in that revote. First off, you can't really read Dolores. She's too unpredictable. And second off, you just have to commit to the bit. And if you commit to the bit and vote for Ivar, say Danielle does go, whether that's on the game of chance or Dolores did vote for Danielle, you can still say, I just couldn't vote for Danielle. I just couldn't do it. But she couldn't do that because she flipped. And it's like, you made the worst of all decisions. You didn't vote for Danielle, which, yeah, it's gonna make you suspicious, but that's why you had to commit to the bit. But because you did, it's like, it's too much confusion. She should have just kept voting for Ivar and hope that Danielle survived the game of chance. Because had Danielle survived and she survived that game of chance, that was the last round that players' roles are revealed. So they couldn't see Danielle as a traitor and think, oh, maybe Brittany is, maybe Danielle recruit her. They wouldn't get that. And with Danielle in the game of the final five, Danielle is always going before Brittany, always. And they could probably still use Dolores as a number. Granted, Dolores might have still gone AWOL when she realized Ivar was faithful, but you could probably still get her back on the Gabby train. I actually think they could have won. It was just crucial that Danielle stay in the game, and Brittany messed that up. Now, after Danielle got banished, we had the Sia twist, and I've seen the Sia twist on UK season 3, and I have very mixed feelings about it. On the UK season 3, it did create a lot of drama. I like that, but it also screwed over a particular person who was on track to win the game. It screwed them over, and I love that person, so I wasn't happy about that. I do think the Sia twist is a bit overpowered, but also it is very helpful to the faithful since no one's roles are being revealed. They can't use that information anymore, so it does make sense to bring in this twist to help with that. Otherwise, the faithfuls are completely screwed. But wow, did the Sia twist flop. The one traitor getting the Sia twist just made it flop because there was no like, oh my god, are they going to choose the traitor? They're going to choose the traitor. They're not, because Brittany's the traitor. No potential for drama because of that. Like, had Brittany not been the seer and she wasn't chosen, she'd be on the one of the three on the outside. She could have potentially tried to weaponize people to think the other two were saying they were faithfuls, but they're actually traitors. And with Brittany as a seer and choosing Gabby, I actually think that was a smart move. Bringing in Ivar and Dolores, who have done nothing for a game, the other two already suspected they were faithfuls. And bringing in Dylan, I don't think would have swayed him, but bringing in Gabby did create a lot of confusion because the assumption would be, oh, she's going to try to frame Gabby, but she didn't. She got Gabby on her side. Kind of almost worked, but unfortunately didn't end up working out. And kudos to Gabby for not being snowed by that. Even though Brittany brought her in, said she was faithful, which kind of helped her win, Gabby didn't let emotions cloud her judgment, think, you know what, Brittany is still suspicious, we have to vote for her. And what I've seen from other people that I do think could be good to kind of help combat the overpowerness of the seer is that whoever is the seer and whoever they choose is kept anonymous. I said that word wrong, but whatever. But I think that would help, and I think that could be and very entertaining, and I could create some interesting gameplay. Also, going back to roles not being revealed at the end game, I think this is stupid. First off, it greatly helps the traitors. Granted, the seer does kind of help with that, but I think it's very boring because what's entertaining is the reactions of seeing the remaining contestants, seeing the roles of the contestants that leave, and by not having that, the end game's not as entertaining. Granted, what they did in the UK, so spoiler alert, they did go down to the final two, and they did reveal the roles of those banished before they revealed the roles of the final two, so that was good. We got to see those reactions. They didn't do that here, which kind of makes sense because there's only one person role that wasn't revealed. But yeah, not the biggest fan of roles not being revealed, but I do think it works if they do eventually tell them before they reveal the final roles of those remaining. I think that works so that we still get those reactions. And kind of speaking of the 4 winners, we do have our 4 remaining winners left, and okay, here we go. Ivar, disliked, brought nothing. Furniture, like Brittany said, furniture, just so unbelievably boring. Did not like Ivar the slightest. I just, oh my God, so boring. But I had to put him top of dislike because he is the only contestant who voted for every traitor. Only contestant who did that. Not even Gabby and Dylan, who are a lot smarter than him, did that. So I don't want to put him in the K2 because he was so boring, but I think I had to because he wasn't as bad at the game. So there he goes. But yeah, very boring character. Next is Dolores, disliked. Oh my God. Very much disliked Dolores. Voted correctly 2 out of 10 times. How are you that bad at the game, Dolores? She was so bad that people had to look at her to think maybe she is a traitor because she's so bad. Like Tom Sandoval, people were laughing at Tom Sandoval because he was looking at Dolores. But can you blame him? Why was she the surviving housewife? The other housewives were so much more entertaining than Dolores. Why was she the surviving one? Oh my God. Like the one part I liked about her, the one time she showed any strategic awareness was at the first challenge when she got on the raft. She looked at Dorinda and said, oh, they might think we're traitors because we got on the raft. One strategic sense she had. And oh my God, the final banishment, when they banished Brittany, when she said something along the lines of, for the first time, I'm finally going to vote with my brain and not my heart. Now, finally, you're going to do this now at the end? You should have been doing that in the beginning. You were so wrong so many times. And now at the very and that's when you decide, oh yeah, it's time to use logic. Oh my God, Dolores, like wake up, wake up. I did not like Dolores. I was very not happy that she was a winner. Both her and Ivar. I mean, at least Ivar kind of deserved it because he did vote out every traitor, but he was so boring. And Dolores, I really wish she didn't win. But hey, if Ivar and Dolores winning means that we got to have both Dylan and Gabby win, then so be it. Speaking of which, Gabby, my sweet, sweet Gabby, loved. She needs to go in front of Carolyn. Loved Gabby. Smart player. Was clocking a lot of things. A lot of the things she was saying in the beginning, I just couldn't help but agree. Like, I'd be like, that is how I play. All her reads are spot on. She kind of clocked Danielle in the very beginning. Saw her or heard her coming out of the door. Kind of got off that theory, but went back to it. Very savvy at the game. Unfortunately, she didn't vote for Bob, so I had to kind of deduct points from her from that. But other than that, she did vote for every other traitor, and she was just very entertaining to watch, gave great confessionals. I think my favorite moment from her was during Danielle's banishment, when Danielle was saying that she's smart, she could be a good traitor, and Gabby goes, yeah, I'm not saying I'm dumb. Great, just love that. And that cat suit she was wearing at the final episode, episode, my God, because she wear that cat suit and her hair looks so good. She looks stunning. Really, really enjoyed Gabby. I thought she was good at the game. I think she would have made a fun traitor. I think she could have been a lot of fun traitor. If they ever bring her back, I hope they make her one. I'm so glad she won. I was hoping both her and Dylan would win. I was hoping they win as a pair, but that was never going to happen. But I am glad they did ultimately win. So I guess like I'm somewhat satisfied with Ivar and Dolores winning because Gabby and Dylan won, but I'd rather have it just be those two. And speaking of Dylan, I will put him in the great tier. I'll put him below Danielle and Bob because in terms of entertainment value, he wasn't like that interesting to watch, but in terms of gameplay, very good. He was kind of snowed by Rob, but he did kind of hint at that he knew Rob was a traitor, but he was only keeping him in so that he could get protection. And I think if he was doing that intentionally, if he knew Rob was a traitor but only wanted to keep him so that he'd protect him, that was good. That would be good, but that wasn't fully confirmed. And I haven't watched any of his exit interviews, so maybe he did confirm it. And if he did, I probably still keep him in the great tier, be on top of great tier, not in the middle. But I kind of did lose a little respect for him when he wasn't voting for Rob. I'm like, you look like a love-struck puppy right now, Dylan. Like,
wake up.
But he woke up towards the end. What I also like about Dylan is that he did not let. Oh my God, like I'll be congestion by myself, and I'm like, oh my God. Ugh. Okay, where was I? What I also liked about Dylan is that he did not let emotions cloud his judgment. Both Carolyn and Danielle were pleading to him, begging for him to believe them, and he didn't let it get to him. He said, I hear you, I know what you're saying, I don't want to distrust you, but the evidence is too much, I have to vote for you. So kudos to him for that. I think that kind of also played into the Rob banishments because I think he was letting emotions cloud his judgment there. But once Rob got banished, he's like, I can't do that again. I can't do that again. I have to trust my gut. I have to trust the evidence. So he turned on Danielle and Carolyn, and kudos for him for that. And I like what he was saying about in the end game about how, oh, if Brittany frames Gabby, we just have to vote them both out. Or, oh, Gabby and Brittany could both be traitors staying their faithfuls. Glad that he saw that that was a possibility, even though that was wrong. And I get why he was looking at Gabby. She would be a good traitor. She was pretty smart at the game. Why wasn't she murdered earlier? And I also thought it was interesting that the only reason why he decided to end the game instead of keep voting was that he felt that he would be the one voted out, even though he suspected Gabby. And luckily for him, Gabby was a faithful. But I thought that was a pretty interesting read in that I don't fully trust everyone here. I'd rather banish again, but I will be the one that gets voted out. And I'd rather just take the risk and still win than try to vote for Gabby and still get voted out and not win. So that was an interesting read. It kind of brings me to all 4 people winning. It is crazy to me that all 4 of them decided to end the game. And I don't know whether to give them kudos or give them flack. If I was in their spot and there's 4 people left in the game, there's no way I would take the chance of ending the game there. I always go down to the final 2 when I get my money. And 2, you increase your chances of winning because there's less people at the end who could be a traitor. And it's wild to me that they would choose to end the game with 4 people left. Then again, they correctly read that there were no traitors left. So I had to give them kudos for that, even though on like a fundamental level, it's crazy to me they would end the game with 4 people. But they had the correct read, so whatever. But it creates an interesting ending. I don't think we'll ever get 4 faithfuls winning again. Very boring finale, but kind of an interesting ending. And that's my ranking of all the contestants. The last thing I want to talk about is kind of the casting of the US Traitors seasons. All the other versions of the Traitors, they don't do full reality stars. They either do everyday people or kind of have a mix. And I'm not always a fan of mixing reality contestants and non-reality contestants. I always think it should be one or the other. I always think it should be just non-reality contestants. And the US Traitors seasons are often regarded lower on the list of other Traitors seasons of the other internet. I'm losing my voice. I can't talk. Should I just end it? No, I want to say what I have to say. Well, I want to say what I have to say and just, you don't have to deal with my voice. I'm sorry. But the US seasons are often regarded lower than the other international seasons. And I think that's because of the casting. The cast makes or break these type of shows. And the casting is just, these people don't need the money. Like these housewives, these Bravo people, they don't need the money. They're not hungry for it like everyday people are. So they're not as into it, which is frustrating. And for me, the people that really bring it on the US seasons are the gamers. They're not as wealthy as some of the other people, they need the money. They fight for it harder, and they are just more primed for the game. They're often more ruthless. They ought to bring more interesting gameplay, and they ought to bring great drama. That's not always the case. Like Gabby, Dylan, what was his name from last? Pete. Like, they were really savvy at the game, and they weren't on strategic game shows. So I give them kudos for that. With Survive Big Brother, anytime you have returning players or the Traitors, anytime you have people who have played a type of game like this before, and you mix them with people who've never played on a reality competition show before, those players who have never played on that type of game show before often get steamrolled. They often get outplayed, and they often get starstruck. And with the Traitors, what often happens is that the non-gamers really lean on to the gamers. They really rely on them to kind of figure things out instead of using their own agency to figure things out. We saw that with Chriselle, we saw that with Sierra, really leaning on the gamers to solve the mysteries, and that's not fun to watch. It's just really boring. I wish the Traitors US seasons did like a season with reality stars and a season with non-reality stars. And I think the season with non-reality stars would be a lot better. And I know the first season had half and half, but again, when you introduce reality people versus non-reality people, the reality people are going to steamroll the non-ones. And also the casting was so bad in season 1. Like, those 10 non-reality stars were casted to be cannon fodder. They were casted to not outshine the actual reality stars. So I think that casting was poor. And I'm also kind of salty about the US casting because of all the Traitors, all the international Traitor seasons. The US is the only one that casts reality stars, which means I can't audition for it, which means I have to go on another show to get on the Traitors, and I want to be on the Traitors so bad, so stupid. But yeah, I don't know. I just maybe next season they'll step it up, but most of the time the non-gamers are really boring. I mean, look how many of my okay and dislikes they were. They were just boring. They bring nothing. They're not good at the game. Versus if they had an even playing field of either all gamers or all non-reality stars, I think the gameplay would be more interesting. I think people would be more hungry for it. I think it'd be a better season. But yeah, my voice. Let me check my notes. Oh, that's the other thing with the Bravo people. They're not in it to win the game. They're in it to protect their image and get more famous. And so oftentimes when they're faithfuls, they have this holier than thou attitude, which is very frustrating to watch. I don't want to see people on reality shows there for the likes and therefore to get more followers. I want to see them because they want to win. And oftentimes the Bravo people are not there to win. They're there to get more followers. And that is frustrating. That is why you need to cast non-reality stars. They're only gamers who don't care about being followed. They care about winning the game and winning the money. There you have it. Those are my thoughts and opinions on Traitors US Season 3. My voice is gone. This is really bad. But yeah, goodbye. I can finally take this freaking cloak off. Oh! Oh my God, I'm so hot and itchy.